Real Talk the podcast. We just keeping it real. Inspirational, motivation. It's something that you can feel. Authentic, I know you can tell. Hosted by Kimberly Sherrill. We got food for thought. Come help yourself. One of a kind like nobody else. Yeah, wanna see you mentally grow in a major way. Play this back like day to day. See all that stress and doubt, just watch it fade away. There is nothing you cannot achieve. Good vibes, yeah, we got that. Kimberly, go ahead and talk to him. It's the Real Talk podcast. Let's go.
Hello, beautiful people. Thank you for tuning in to Real Talk, the podcast. I am your host, Kimberly Sherrill. I thank you so much for joining me, whatever day this is that you are listening to this show. I really appreciate you. Just know that. And if you have not already hit the subscribe button, please make sure that you do so that you never miss a new episode of Real Talk, the podcast. Once again, I am so elated because I have the pleasure of having with me in the guest chair today, Miss Wendy Lee, aka Quietstorm. Hello, Wendy.
Hello there.
How are you doing?
I am fantabulous, and I hope that I am dressed appropriately. I never know what to wear for these audio interviews, but I try to look as prettiful as possible.
I love that. As prettiful as possible. That is lovely. So now your stage name is Quietstorm.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes, it is. Yes.
But are you quiet?
I am. I really am. I only talk when talking is necessary, because people oftentimes have that as a they actually have that as a misconception. They think that the quiet storm just means that I don't talk at all. But actually, when I'm not in performance, quote, air quotes, when I'm not in performance mode, I am really quiet. And most people don't recognize that actually when I'm out in public or when I'm around people, I gravitate towards the background. But most people don't notice that because they're too busy in their own head.
So why is that? Why do you gravitate to the background?
Because that's actually just a part of who I am. I think it's in my nature. I'm a watcher and I'm a listener. And I think that when you listen and you watch, you learn a lot. Because quiet people know a whole bunch of lot, because we are observers and I like intaking information, because I study people. I do. I study people. I like to say that. I study people.
Okay.
And not just for the stage. It's just for my person. It's just a part of my personality. I like watching and I like listening, because you will learn a lot about folks. People will tell you who they are if you watch and you listen.
You know what? I can completely agree with that. So my background is psychology, and behavior was always the part that interests me. So I definitely pay attention to people's movements.
Okay.
Because words lie, but actions rarely do.
Wow. Amen, absolutely.
Okay, so Wendy, where did you grow up?
I grew up in the house.
You know what?
I grew up.
We're going to behave today. We're going to behave today.
Oh, no. This like in this here quarantine, because this is 2020. This is March the 30th. I mean, no, May is one of them. See, that's how I'm lost of time. It's May 30th. It's one of them M months. I knew it was one of them M's. We still in quarantine, even though the governor kind of took some of the bans off. But this like being out in public with me. This here interview podcast is like being in public. So I'ma act like I done been in the house for 2 months. But let me see. Oh, okay. So the question was, you thought I forgot, didn't you? Where did I grow up?
I grew up
in the Lawrenceville. See, I remember. I will take a rabbit trail, but I will come back. I grew up in Lawrenceville, Virginia. That's Brunswick County, home of Brunswick Stew, home of St. Paul's College, one of the historically Black universities.
Wait a minute now. Now, how you going to claim Brunswick Stew? And I'm from Georgia. Well, we have Brunswick, Georgia. Now how y'all just going to take our stew?
Because we can do that. Because I got the paperwork. That's why.
You got
I got the paperwork.
You know what? I need to see your paperwork.
Okay, it's authentic. It got the seal and everything.
You got the official Brunswick Stew seal.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. From the Earl of Brunswick. Yes. See, you know about that? You know about that? Huh?
No,
Huh?
no, no.
Okay.
No, I know the Earl of Sandwich, but not the Earl of Brunswick.
Brunswick. The Earl of Brunswick. That's where the name Brunswick County come from. The Earl of Brunswick. Don't nobody look that up because I'm just acting like I'm educated. Don't look that up now.
Don't put it on Twitter. You know, Twitter has that new fact checker that has the president all upset because the little thing that you click there and just fact check everything. You say, we're going to put this out on Twitter and start fact checking you, Wendy.
Okay. Okay.
So, what were you like as a child? Were you always the comedian in the family?
No. And that's another part of the quiet storm. No, because I grew up very shy. I was very shy, very scary, scared of everything. When family came to the house, I'd hide behind the sofa. I was very quiet child. Scared of everything. I was scared of water. I was scared of the dark. I was scared of the boogeyman. I was scared I was going to die. I wasn't sick, but I was just scared I was going to die early. It was crazy. Yeah, so I'm very quiet. I ain't give my parents no problem. And you can fact check that.
I will be fact checking that part now.
Yes,
Put that on Twitter and fact check it.
Yes. I only got spankings because they needed to exercise. That's the only time they got exercise when they spanked me. Because I ran away. They had to catch me to spank me. But
oh, you were like Michael Jackson. You would take off running, and then
yep.
And they had to sprint.
Absolutely. Yes. And I would climb up on the stuff because I always been thin as I am now. So yeah, so I can get in places that they couldn't. I hide up on the stuff. Yeah. Absolutely.
See, I had a theory growing up that actually made the whooping worse because I have two brothers. And I'm not going to identify which did what, but I had one brother that as soon as the whooping would start, he immediately had to go to the bathroom. So my theory with that was the parents not going to get to stop and get a rest break. You know, and be able to resume the beatdown. I had my other brother would grab the belt. And that would anger them more. And so I would just take it and hope that it was over with. But see, I never considered the running, thing. I don't know if that would have went over well.
Yeah. Yes, because see, here's the thing, Kim. You run them real hard, make them tired. Because you know that the 6-7-year-old got more energy than the 29, 30-year-old. So yeah, you run them hard, tire them out.
I should have tried that.
There you go.
Parents were young, but they had 3 kids. Yeah, I should have tried that. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I get to go back in time. I'm gonna do that one of those beat down days. So I'm just gonna sprint.
There you go. That's the theory right there. See, I was smart when I was 6. Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
And so you also have said before that you grew up in the church, and that is, you want people to believe that God has a sense of humor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he do, because he took and made me. Now, yeah. Now, I wouldn't say grew up in the church. I actually got saved when I was 17. And that was actually a result of when my mother passed away. But I did grow up with a respect for God. We went to church because we were in the country, and so the country churches, they had the church on either the second and fourth Sunday or the first and third Sunday. So we actually went to church like 2 Sundays out the month. But still, we grew up with a respect for God. Where we had to say our grace before we eat, had to say our prayers before we went to sleep. And just with the good morals. Weren't allowed to cuss and all that carrying on, and we were taught that sex was to be reserved for marriage, and all that good thing. We had to learn the Apostles' Creed. Most people don't even know what that is.
I don't know what that is.
Third song. See?
And but
See,
in my defense, I
yeah.
went to church on the second and fourth Sunday up until I was like 14 years old, and then they switched to having church on every Sunday. So maybe they taught that on the
Yeah.
first and third, and I went there.
I don't know where, but I remember it was this yellow card that they gave us in Sunday school, and it had on that card it had 4 things: Apostle Creed, the 23rd Psalms, the Lord's Prayer, and I forgot what the 4th thing was. But yeah, well we had to learn that thing for Sunday school. Yeah, Apostles Creed.
Did you ever
Yeah.
have an Easter speech?
Well, no, because I was so young. I got exempt from a whole lot of stuff because we had to do the scripture like at the end of Sunday school, and my mama told me what to say. She said, "God is love," and then I realized that was a piece of scripture. That wasn't even a full scripture. So I got gypped. Tell me some God is love, but yeah. So, but the Easter speech, no, we didn't have to do that. We just got. Well, I had to. Well, they did. I didn't because I was a youngin'. But we just got to dress up real prettiful and had an Easter egg hunt on the church grounds.
See,
which is in the graveyard. In the graveyard.
in the graveyard.
In the country, girl, in the churches, the graveyard is on the church grounds. It's not all fancy like it is now. Well, yeah.
But you see, I grew up in the country as well, and there was no graveyard, praise the Lord, on the church ground, because you probably would not have seen me if I had to step over a tombstone to get to the doorstep now. That wasn't happening. No.
Hunty?
No, but we did have our own baptism pool on site, which was, that was a big deal because other churches would come and use it because they didn't have their own baptism pool. But it was outside. Okay. So we only baptized people during the spring and summer.
Oh, well, that's good. So people won't be too cold. See, we didn't have the baptismal pool. We went to the county. I'm exaggerating now, but it's gonna be funny to sound like it was a real story. But we went to the county pool, the recreation center at the pool, and we dipped people in the actual pool. That sounds real good. That didn't happen. I'm joking. That didn't happen.
We're gonna fact check this whole interview. We're fact checking everything.
But listen, but the graveyard is the truth. I mean, and it's most churches. I I find that interesting that you said that y'all church didn't have the graveyard on site, but yeah, we had the graveyard on site. And let me tell you this little nugget. Don't worry about the dead people. Worry about the live people, because they can hurt you. The dead people will make you hurt yourself.
That is true.
It's the live people that you got to watch out for.
That is true.
Amen.
That is true. So you say we're gonna fact check it. You were a quiet, obedient child who was not, any problems. You were very shy. You were scary. So how did you go from being quiet and shy to a comedian? What was that journey?
That is very interesting. I would like to know the answer to that too. Let me wait for myself to answer. Well, actually, because it's very interesting because I never aspired to be a comedian. It was nothing that I said when I was younger, like, I want to be a comedian. Actually, what did I want to be? I don't remember what I wanted to be. I don't think I had any aspirations when I was younger. I mean, that is very interesting. But actually, what happened? Actually, it happened to comedy like in my late 20s. And it was after I moved to the big old metropolitan city of Petersburg, Virginia, that I went to this church talent show. And I was just going to support the talent show just to have something to do because I was a church girl and I used to be in the church every night just about. And so I went to support the talent show. And the pastor actually made the announcement that they needed more participants for the talent show. And he made that announcement about 3 or 4 times. So about the 3rd time, I said, okay, let me see what I can do because I wanted to contribute because I'm a helps person. When I see a need, I want to try to fulfill it if I can. And so the thing is, I have a host of talents. Well, at the time, but some of them kind of got rusty. But at the time, I was doing many things. I was singing. I sung a little bit. I was on the praise team. I was on a dance ministry at the church. And I actually write poetry. And but all of those talents had already been presented that night. So I said, I want to do something different. And it just popped in my mind to tell some jokes. And so I kind of remembered all the clean stuff. And it wasn't anything, I didn't write anything original. I was just telling jokes that I had heard throughout my life, little riddles pretty much. And wrote it down because I was still in my shy phase, just nervous, and I'm afraid that I couldn't remember anything. So I wrote all the stuff down on the paper. I went up there, I read it from the paper. And when I went back to my seat, the pastor called me back up. And he said, "You have an awesome gift. I see God putting you before great men. I see you traveling all over the country." And he said, "I want to be the first one to sow into your ministry." So that's what he did. He started a offering for me that night. They took up an offering, and I'm like, "Oh wow!" And so he asked me back the following year to host the talent show. And I'm like, I don't know anything about hosting. And so he gave me some pointers about hosting. And so what I did was I dressed up. No, I didn't dress up. I went to visit the church a few weeks before the talent show. And so what I decided to do in between the acts of the talent show was to dress up like some of the church members. And I mimicked what they did in church service. And they absolutely loved it. They loved that. And it was from there, at the conclusion of that service, someone came up to me and asked me for my business card. And I said, "Well, I'm not in business. I'm not a comedian. I'm just having fun." So they said, "Well, will you come to our church and do what you did tonight?" I said, "Sure." And so that's what I did. And that became a domino effect. Everywhere I went, that was a procedure. Somebody asked me for my business card, and I said, "Hey, I'm not in business. I'm not a comedian. I'm just having fun." And that thing happened 7 years. For 7 years, and that I went in that capacity, just saying I'm having fun. And it was in 2006 where I went to a Christian comedian conference. And I went there and I met about 30, 40 different Christian comedians who was doing this thing full time. And I'm like, wait a minute, you can earn some money from this? What? And and it was very refreshing to be around saved people who act like me, because I was getting a little scrutiny for my little sense of humor that I was displaying. And people saying it's not of God, and joking and jesting is shouldn't be done in the house of God and all this. So it was refreshing to meet people who love God and act like me. And it was great. And I came back on fire. Because I felt like I had found my tribe. And it's like, okay, I'm not the only one that's goofy and love Jesus. Then on top of that, I can get a little piece of change from this. So it was great. It was really great. And it was actually at that conference where my stage name Quietstorm came out of, because I'm doing this conference, the latter part of it, because it was a 3-day conference. And the third day was where they had this part called Test Your Talent. And what happens there is the veteran comedians actually the veteran comedians critique the rookie comedians at a set, and we had like a 2 to 3 minute set that we did. And so I actually participated in that, and they were surprised because the first 2 days, the first 2.5 days, I was very quiet because I was intimidated. Because I was under the impression that the conference was for aspiring comedians. And when I got there, these comedians were well known. They were in the public eye. They had their promo packages. They had been on BET Comic View. They had been on other television appearances. They had, like I say, the promo packages. They had done commercials and all these things of that nature. Very professional. And I come with my little homemade business card. So I just felt really intimidated. So I kind of withdrew because I felt like I don't belong here. I'm not as good as they are. And so I was very quiet. So they were actually surprised when that Test Your Talent part came about. They said, "Well, we don't even believe she's a comedian because she ain't said nothing the whole weekend." And so I got up there and did my little 3 minutes, and they were very impressed. And I got some very positive feedback from that. And so they had a panel discussion. The very last thing was a panel discussion. And one of the questions was, do you use your given name or do you create a stage name? And so there were several of us that wanted stage names. And so we got before the audience, before the other comedians, and they helped us to come up with a stage name. And so one of the aspects about me, they said, well, she's very quiet and reserved. You wouldn't even notice she's a comedian. But when she gets on stage, she really tears it up. And so they threw some stuff out there, and somebody said Quietstorm, and I said, I like that. So that's how I adopted the stage name.
Wow, that is so great. So
Yeah.
tell me though, what was going through your mind when you did this first set at the church talent show and the pastor calls you back up and he spoke, all of this over you. What was going through your mind? How did you feel in that moment?
I felt, oh, that's amazing, because nobody has ever asked me that. Um, and actually, what I was thinking was, this is gonna sound crazy, but I was thinking that this is some poppycock. I mean, really, it's like, because it's like, well, first of all, I mean, I didn't even know about comedy, first of all. So, I mean, but looking back on it, it's like, that wasn't even my original stuff. This is stuff I'm repeating that I've heard from a joke book or heard somewhere sitting in PE class or something. So, first of all, it's not even nothing I wrote. And then the second thing is like, okay, I was nervous because I know at that time I was super nervous. So I had all the part of the manifestation. My voice was cracking. I was sweating. I was probably pooting at the same time. Carried on. So it's like, and I was very nervous during that time, cracking and shaking and all that. So it's like, I didn't even know what performance was at the time, but it's like, are you kidding me? I was like, are you kidding me? Yeah, so pretty much that was my thought. So I guess instead of the poppycock thing, the thing, are you kidding me? It was probably going through my mind. But yeah, so it's like, so it's amazing. But to look back on that now, it's like, I like to label it as a beautiful surprise, because I never would have thought. This is nothing I would have planned for my own life. I mean, and it's great. It's great. I absolutely love it. And how I feel about comedy now is, if I can't tell jokes, or if I can't be comedic, because even my personality, even if I don't have a stage, which, this daggone COVID-19 took my stage away, but even if I can't just be humorous with my personality, I feel like it's no need for me to breathe. And that's how serious and how, I guess, passionate I am about my sense of humor, and not just comedy, but just my sense of humor. Because like I said, if I don't have a stage, I'm still gonna be funny.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. I think that you're
yeah,
always going
yeah,
to be funny, but it's beautiful
yeah.
how you were in the place that you needed to be, and
Mm-hmm.
you heard the calling without realizing that that's
Right.
exactly what it
That's,
was. So, definitely do
yeah.
Christian clean comedy. What is that like, being out amongst maybe other comedians, if you are ever on stage or following behind someone who is not necessarily doing that type of thing? Because it makes me think about Will Smith. Will Smith has always done, clean lyrics, and he says, because he doesn't ever want to be embarrassed when his children look up exactly what he does, despite the pressure that he sometimes from
Mm-hmm.
others in the industry who aren't on that same journey. So what is that like for you?
It's hard, and hard in the aspect that I don't want. I feel like when I'm in that arena, I feel like just my presence there makes people uncomfortable, so to speak. Because I don't judge people. I don't come off it. I don't even say that I'm Christian, and that's the thing. I don't even say that. Even in my set, and even before I go up, uh, I don't even say that. I just present my comedy, and from my comedy, people conclude that I'm Christian. I don't. And it's very interesting. It's even very interesting because even my first time doing something outside of a church event at a comedy club, I was the only clean comedian there, and I think I went up third. I was in third spot, and the other two, who went before me, they actually said in their set that they were Christian, along with some other things that I guess wouldn't be becoming of a Christian, which was interesting. And I go up there and I didn't even say it. And what was interesting, that one of the comics who said that they were Christian, they actually came up to me and said, "Hey, I got saved, in 2013, but I know, you wouldn't know that by my set, And And they were pretty much confessing to me. And I shouldn't be drinking. I don't drink that much though, but I drink less than I used to. And I'm like, okay. They say, yeah, I know you can't tell by my set, but this is funny. The audience like it. I'm like, okay. And I wasn't, condemning nor condoning. It was just by my presence alone that they call people to come up there, and I felt like I was a Catholic priest. People come and so it's like, hey, I'm just here doing what I do. If that's what you do, that's fine. Yeah, because I don't want to make people I really don't, but I guess that's what light does. When light does shine in darkness, the darkness sometimes gets uncomfortable. And so I don't want people to be uncomfortable. I want people to be themselves. But if I spark my presence and my presentation sparks positive change, it's all good. It's all good.
That's to be expected, because darkness does not exist. And people always sort of side eye when I say that, but darkness is the absence of light. And so the absence of something cannot mean the creation of something else. So when your light comes in an area where there has been an absence of it, 100% they're going to notice. So,
right.
Wendy,
right, yeah, and
go ahead.
Yeah, because I was gonna say one more thing about, I guess, actually being in the comedy clubs, because I did migrate here. Well, I wouldn't say migrate. I expanded my performance into the comedy clubs about 3 years ago, and what was interesting, like I said, I never presented myself or said I'm the Christian comedian. People introduced me as that. People, they labeled me that, because actually when I went into that environment, I just said clean. I said I'm clean comedian. But I guess maybe the topics that I talked about, people would introduce me. Hey, this is a Christian comedian. And what was interesting is that the other comics, they were intrigued. Said, how do you write clean? Can you teach me how to write clean? How did you do that? And it was like, hey, this is just who I am. It's like, I don't know how to teach you to write clean, because I'm writing from my life. I'm writing from who I am. This is just who I am. It's like, oh, I need to know how to do that. And so that was an interesting aspect too, that they marvel. It's like, how do you do that? Well, it's just who I am. It's who I am. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's actually phenomenal, that your presence sparks so much interest with others. And I'm assuming that they're thinking like, wow, there's a whole community that I'm not able to even perform before, because, my jokes do not fit the audience. And so, it's something to explore, Wendy. I don't know. Maybe you can teach them how to do it.
Yeah.
Maybe you can.
Yeah. Yes, because that's what the comedy club managers were saying. They said it is a market for clean comedy, because they say they're looking for it. They're looking for people who can do clean comedy, and that's actually how I got the opportunity. It's kind of ironic, very ironic, because they were trying to do a clean comedy night the very first time I went there. But even in their attempt to do a clean comedy night, they still had some stuff that was inappropriate. But here's the thing, Kim. Here's the thing. Here is the thing here. What the definition of clean comedy for me is way different than the comedy club definition of clean comedy.
How so?
I'm going to leave. Okay, I was waiting if you want to know. Okay, I'm going to see how I'm going to go around these words. Because, okay, in the comedy club arena, I guess it's across the board, but I know in the comedy club that I frequent in this area, what they classify as clean. Okay, what they classify as clean, you can't say the N word, which is crazy. You can't say the N word. You can't say the C word, and the C word is crazy, because I don't even use a C word. And the C word, I'm going to spell it out. So, okay, C-U-N-T. It's like, who uses that word? I mean, that's crazy. So you can't say the N word, can't say the C word, and you can't say the F bomb. We all know what the F bomb. Everything else you can do. You can talk about sex. I mean, you can talk about sex in a very vulgar way. You can use the street terminology for body parts. You can use the street terminology for sexual intercourse. But the only thing was classified as clean in the comedy club is, again, no F-bombs, no C-word, no N-word.
Wow. No racial slur.
Interesting.
The only racial slur of N. See you next Tuesday, and no F-bomb. But everything else is free game. Wow.
That's cool. Yeah, you can say the SHIT. You can say it,
and that's clean.
So that's yes. Because I actually took a comedy course, and plus they have it's a thing. They have a competition once a month where they were having a competition once a month, and that was the qualification. Those were the rules for the competition. Of course, you had a time limit too. You couldn't go over the time limit for the competition, but that was the part of the rules. You had to be clean, and then they defined what clean was that you can't say that, which is crazy.
Wow.
Crazy. That's crazy. So I guess clean and family, because you certainly can't bring family. You can't bring your children and your grandma. Yeah, I wouldn't be comfortable bringing kids and grandma to a show like that. Comedy club clean. Quote, air quotes.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I was like, if I saw an advertisement said that it was clean comedy, I would think that it would be okay for me to bring my children or to sit next to my mother and listen to it. And after you explained it, I'm like, absolutely not.
Yes.
Absolutely not. That is not okay. Yes. Wow.
Yeah.
So right now I want to move to the last little section. It's kind of like a little hot seat. It's my little keep it real segment. I ask you some questions. You give me your honest answer, just right off the cuff. Everyone gets the same set of questions, but the answers are always different and interesting. Are you ready?
Yes, let's go.
All right, so tell the listeners a book that you have read that you found to be beneficial in some form as it relates to your business or life in general.
Lord, that would have to be the 4 Agreements. That changed my life. Set me free. Did you want me to explain? I didn't know if it was rapid fire.
You can explain.
You want me to explain? Oh, okay. Oh yeah, the 4 Agreements. It was eye-opening for me because it made me realize how much bondage I was living in with social conditioning, and even because it's 4, because you always forget that 4th one. If there's 4 things, you forget the 4th one. If there's 3 things, you forget the 3rd one. But the main thing is not taking something personal. And I just realized I was taking a whole lot of things personal. When something is done to you, it's not you. It's usually something going on with the person. And I'm forgetting the rest of them. But listen, it was so freeing personally. And I just realized that I was binding my own self up with how I viewed life, how I viewed myself. So that book, The 4 Agreements, phenomenal, life-changing for me personally.
All right. Yeah. I need to look in that book. Someone else has mentioned that as well. I need to look and add that to my reading list. Yeah. All right. So the next question, if you could pick anyone, celebrity or, regular person, to be your business bestie, who would you pick to be your business bestie and why?
Would they have to be alive? Alive presently?
No, you can pick anyone.
Oh, I don't like rules. Okay, good. That would have to be Jackie Moms Mabley. Because I heard she make like several $1,000s a week during her time. In her season age. I won't say old, but in her season age. And so yeah, I would say Jackie Moms Mabley. Yeah, because we in the same career. And then and I feel, because I do, even though I'm not that old, but I just feel like I done got my little win later in life, because most comics, they start out in their 18, 19, early 20s, and I came in like I was almost 30 when I started. So I just feel like, I feel like a late bloomer. And so I can identify with Jackie Moms Mabley. So
okay. That's it. All right. And so third question. Tell the listeners a training, a webinar, or a conference that you have attended that has been very beneficial for your business and your brand.
That would have to be the Charlotte Mitchell pop-up conference. That's how you and I met. I mean, kind of, sort of indirectly, but directly. Yeah, the pop-up conference that I went to. Yeah, because that it was amazing to meet, to be in a room full of female entrepreneurs. I got my own vocabulary. Yeah, to be in a room of female, and a lot of people that look like me, and so it was great to see that, and a lot of them were local too. It's like, wait a minute, we got this many sisters that got it going on right here in the local area. And so yeah, so it was great because I think you become whatever your environment is, and so it was great. It's like, okay, I need, to rub some shoulders with these ladies. I need to be in their presence, and be around them in some fashion, even though now it's virtually. But I think, yes, it was great to get that visual, because I think once you see it, you can believe that it's more attainable when you get it in your view, because you can see it in your mind's eye, but then even when you see it with your natural eye, there's people got it going on. There's people being successful in business that look like you and that's close in your vicinity. So it had nothing to do with your area. It had nothing to do with your color. You can do this. And so yeah, so that was amazing. That was amazing.
Yes, I can agree. The pop-up conference is it's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. Great information, great energy in the room.
Yes. Absolutely. Yes. And another thing I liked was the push, because it's easy, especially for me, someone who blends in the background. I like some of the activities that were done that forced me personally to get out of my shell, because I actually went there and I retreated, because a lot of people don't even remember me for several reasons, because I ain't look the same. And then the other thing was my personality. I blend in because I felt intimidated. I'm gonna tell the whole truth. I felt intimidated being around. I was like, oh Lord, look at all these women, got it going on. Like, oh, look at little me. I really don't belong here. There was a part of me that felt like I don't belong here, but then it's the other part of me that felt like, wow, it's good to be here. It's good to be here. So I like the activities, because the activities actually forced interaction with the people at your table. Because if them activities, I probably wouldn't have networked. I wouldn't talk to nobody because I was feeling intimidated. So yeah, so I like the activities, like I said, that force you to interact with the people, and they actually there were some quick activities that actually help each other at the table come up with some ideas for your business. And so that was great. So it was good to even get another set of eyes, because it was suggestions that was made that I hadn't even thought about, to do with my comedy, and things that I could do. So it's great. It's necessary. I think it's very necessary to network and to talk with other people, because people have ideas, and I think that's another reason we weren't meant to do stuff alone. So it's great. 2-3 minds is better than having one brain. No, 2 or 3 brains is better than having one brain. So
I can agree. I can agree. So my next question is a 2-part question. Anytime you start a business, you start doing something new, you're branching out on your own, people love to give you unsolicited advice. Like, everyone has a little nugget for you. So my question is, what is the best and worst unsolicited advice you have received since you started out doing comedy?
Hunter, that's interesting, because that didn't happen to me. That did not happen to me, because one thing, I guess I really didn't look at it as a business. And I would say maybe this year, which is be my 14th year next month, it'll be 14 years doing it, getting paid. But actually a total of 21 years if you add that 7 years that I didn't declare myself a comedian. So even for myself, I didn't look at it as a business. I just looked at it as I'm just having fun. Even though, yeah, I'm getting paid, I'm writing contracts. Like, oh, I'm just having fun. I'm going to churches. I'm having fun. I get to worship and I get to tell jokes. Oh, that's wonderful. And even every once in a while, they'll feed me. I get the gospel bird. I get a little piece of chicken, little wang dangs and carrying on. But But here's something interesting. I do have an answer for that, but it's probably not answering the question that you asked. But this is what I had to say about it. The most interesting, and it come from family. I'm gonna talk about it. Come from family. A couple of family members took and told me this. So you need to get your own business, even though they know I'm doing comedy. What you need to do is get your own business. Well, I do get paid to go around and tell these jokes. Yeah, but you need a real job. Air quotes. A real job. So I'm thinking that maybe that was a reflection of what I was thinking on the inside. I'm going to take that right now. I'm going to take responsibility and say that maybe it's a possibility because I didn't look at it as a business. I didn't see myself as an entrepreneur, that maybe that's where those comments came from. But it was just really this year with joining forces with the platform builders, where I was like, okay, where I look at it as a business now. And it's a whole different dynamic. And it's kind of overwhelming. It really is. Because I just been winging it, just chilling and having fun all this time. And it's like, wow. The business aspect is different. It's different. It's much more involved. It's much more intentional. And for me, I was just waiting for my phone to ring. Because I looked at it as a side hustle. I mean, to be honest, I looked at it as a side hustle, something to do. Plus, at the time, I had a full-time job. So it's like I didn't need this income coming from comedy. But it's like, oh, thank God for every opportunity I get to get a little piece of change to put in my savings account. But when you're an entrepreneur and try to do it full-time, it's a whole different dynamic where you have to be strategic, you have to be intentional, you have to plan ahead, and you got to constantly have the thing on your mind. And I felt like I didn't answer the question, but I did say what I wanted to say.
You did say something that maybe wasn't the worst. It was definitely not so, it wasn't as positive as we would have liked it. But have you received, any great feedback or advice from others?
Well, and I guess the positive feedback would be from my business coach, provoking me to sell my product, because I don't know nothing but to be honest. But when this COVID-19 thing happened, I felt bad, because that's when around the same time as when I launched my website. And so I actually had the opportunity to sell my t-shirts, because I have t-shirts that I sell. I had the opportunity, since I launched my website, I had the opportunity to sell my t-shirts online. But I felt bad. I guess it's the empath in me that felt bad, because so many people were losing their jobs. And it's like, what? I felt it was insensitive of me to post this link asking people to buy my t-shirt when so many people are talking about losing their jobs. And so I actually had to get a pep talk from a business coach and say, hey, there are people who are still purchasing. There are people who are still working. There are people who are working from home. So everybody has not lost their jobs. And people are home now purchasing online. Online is the way to go. So it's good to have a cheerleader and a coach by your side. Because I was still, probably to this day, if I had not had that conversation, probably to this day, and I done sold about 20, 30 shirts. So thank God. So if I had not, had that cheerleader, that coach by my side, I would be minus several $100s right now, which I need.
Well, that's great. That's great. Yeah, always having that positive influence, that that voice to just say, hey, let's look at this from another perspective. So that's always great. So before I close out this session, I definitely want to give you the opportunity to tell the listeners where they can find out more about Ms. Wendy Lee, aka Quietstorm, and definitely where they can purchase your t-shirts.
Alrighty. Well, you can find me on the social or the media. I am on the face of the book under Wendy Lee. Second name is Comedian Quietstorm. Also on the Insta or the gram under Wendy Lee, and that's Quietstorm. No, Comedian _Quietstorm. So let me say it again. Instagram, it's comedian _Quietstorm. You can also put in Wendy Lee and find me. And then on Facebook is Wendy Lee. And then my website is wendyleequietstorm.com. And on that their website, you can see where to get them their t-shirts. I got the hip hop Bible t-shirts because I'm working on my own version of the Bible. So far, I got 3 scriptures, but it's one that does very well. Always gets a standing ovation when I do it at a comedy show, which is the hip hop version of the Bible. I got 2 Chronicles 7:14. Got it in the hip hop version, and you need to go on the website to see what it says. You gonna like it, I guarantee. You gonna like it. So I'm not gonna say what it is. So you need to get some motion going to the website. Wendy Lee Quietstorm.
Call to action, people. Call to action.
Yes. Yes.
Well, Wendy, I have enjoyed chatting with you today. You are definitely full of lots of laughs and positive energy. And I'm smiling because this has been great.
Well, thank you, honey. Thank you. And yes, and I thank you so much. I didn't say that at the beginning, so I feel like I'm not country because that was the first thing I should have said was thank you. Thank you for having me on the show. So I do. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's always good to talk to people. And because I like talking to people and I like interviews because I like people to see into me because that I'm more than comedy.
Nice wordplay. Nice wordplay. You know, and it's great, to get in front of an audience, especially during this quarantine, as my baby said. He said quarantine, not quarantine. It's quarantine. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, quarantine. You like some corn? Corn is good. Just not on your toes, though. Don't
in between your toes.
On your toes. God is not pleased. Oh, that's worse. Oh, that's painful.
All right, listeners. I hope that you have enjoyed this show as much as I have. Wendy Lee has kept me smiling and laughing the entire time. And I just want to say to you, all the beautiful listeners out there, I thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Real Talk, the podcast. I hope that you will tune in next week for a brand new episode. Once again, I'm so humbled by your presence. You could have been anywhere else, but you chose to be here with me. And for that, I will forever be grateful to you. Thank you so much. And to remember to always do what? Keep it real.